You ever live with someone so insufferable, it feels like a slow burn descent into madness? My roommate couldn't even empty a dishwasher, right, leaving dishes on the counter like it was someone else's problem. He'd walk around with this air of superiority, making passive-aggressive comments like, "No, what Kyle did was supervise and criticize." The dishwasher was his favorite battleground. It sat right under the cupboard, like any sensible setup, and right next to the drawer for silverware, and then slowly took over half the kitchen, the couch, and eventually our Netflix account. Now, Jenna was a lot. She'd cook elaborate meals, nothing wrong with that, but she'd leave a war zone behind. Piles of greasy pans, sauce-stained plates, utensils soaking in murky water. And guess what? None of it got cleaned. Loading and unloading it? Couldn't be easier. Nope. Kyle defended her like his life depended on it. She had a long day. We'll clean up later. Spoiler alert, they never did. The only thing she did was microwave leftovers and take up the whole bathroom with her galaxy of cosmetics. I kept to myself, cleaned up my own messes, and watched them spiral into their own bubble of hypocrisy. The fact that they thought they were better than the rest of us, cleaner, more mature, more enlightened, when in reality they were just messy people with loud opinions and no follow-through. But something inside me started to boil. It wasn't just the dishes, or the gaslighting, or the smug little post-it notes Kyle left around the apartment. Instead, Kyle would go right back to lecturing me and the other roommate about leaving coffee rings on the table. Every story has a tipping point, a moment where something snaps, and there's no turning back. Mine came on a random Wednesday night. Coffee rings. Yet Kyle had this incredible habit of pulling dishes out of the dishwasher, and then just dumping them all on the counter. I walk into the kitchen, and it's a disaster zone. Again, pots still on the stove from 2 days ago. Crusted over dishes in the sink like an archaeological dig site. And the cherry on top, the dishwasher full, clean, and untouched. But instead of being emptied and put away like any functioning adult would do, guess what Kyle did? Such effort. I forgot to rinse out my smoothie cup once and got a 5-minute monologue about how mold starts in the little things. I just stood there, staring at the mess, clutching my sad little Tupperware like it was the last bit of sanity I had left. Every time Kyle whined about someone leaving a towel slightly askew, while his girlfriend's shampoo army invaded every inch of the bathroom shelf. Cold, focused. Revenge wasn't going to be loud. It wasn't going to be obvious. It was going to be strategic. They thrive on being in control, on looking like they're the put-together couple, the adulting duo, the ones who get it, while the rest of us are just messy kids. But all that confidence? All that superiority? It's a mask. And masks crack when pressure builds in the right spots. The hypocrisy wasn't just annoying, it was personal. Like, this dude made himself the household moral compass, and he couldn't even follow his own rules. But if there is one thing I've learned about toxic people, it's that they always one tiny spark away from blowing up their own lives. You're just standing there. Not chunky, not clearly expired, but that awkward borderline where you're not sure if your cereal tastes weird or if your brain's playing tricks on you. I'd open a new carton, pour out just a little, and replace it with the tiniest splash of spoiled milk from an old one. Just enough to raise eyebrows. With patience, precision. I wasn't going to ruin their lives. Not enough to cause an emergency. Just enough to make someone second-guess that third slice of pizza. A stomach gurgle here, a surprise bathroom run there. I was going to let them ruin each other's. One of Jenna's biggest flexes was how her hair always smelled amazing. So I found an old container of one of her fancy leave-in conditioners she left in the shared bathroom and added a single drop of fish oil. Just one. I made a face, swirled it around in the cup, then looked at Kyle and said, "Huh, this smell kinda weird to you?" Then I shook it up, and put it right back on the shelf. Not all the time, just enough to create that haunted house vibe. Kyle blamed the wiring. Jenna said it was probably a loose connection. I nodded solemnly, like I totally agreed. Maybe it was ghosts. Again, nothing that'd be obvious. Just enough to make her wonder if maybe the product had gone off. Or maybe it was stress. They each thought the other was using too much seasoning in the food, causing weird digestion. Drier, she said. Like it's not absorbing conditioner anymore, or hormones, or something else. Not even in neat stacks. Just a chaotic pile of cleanish cups, plates, and forks sitting there, like a weird shrine to mediocrity. The butter, his protein powder. He even threw out an entire tub of yogurt, because he thought it tasted funny. He'd go over shared responsibilities, list out chores that he had written down, most of which mysteriously excluded him and Jenna. Then, I'd start the slow burn. Just a few nudges here and there. A whisper. A question. Maybe a well-placed accident. Do you think the fridge is going bad? Or like, maybe the building has mold or something. Nothing traceable. Nothing overt. The cracks were forming. The tension was growing. The sheer entitlement of someone who hadn't lifted a finger all week acting like I was lazy. Could be. I've been feeling kind of off lately, too. Might be worth looking into. Living with someone who pretended to be fair while obviously playing favorites made everything feel tense. Once I made the decision to go full stealth mode revenge, I knew I couldn't come out swinging. No, that's how amateurs get caught. You don't go nuclear on day one. You start with a whisper. There was no point in arguing, because Kyle had already decided he was the rational one, and everyone else was the problem. I just needed to twist reality a little bit to make them doubt their senses, their choices, and eventually each other. And if we tried to bring up anything they'd done, suddenly it was all about mental health, busy schedules, and how we needed to be more empathetic. Some people really don't know how to live like adults, while straightening a single coaster or wiping a crumb off the counter as if that gave him sainthood. Worse, he'd nag us for being untidy while defending his girlfriend for leaving a pile of greasy pots because she was too tired. Hypocrisy much? That's when I decided, if they wanted messy, I'd give them messy. Over the next year, I played the long game. Manipulation, secrets, sabotage, nothing violent, just poetic justice. And by the end, their relationship was a smoldering ruin. Here's how I did it. Let me set the scene for you. Imagine a modest 3-bedroom apartment in a quiet neighborhood. Rent was decent, the location wasn't too bad, and for a while, the place had a good vibe. I lived there with 2 roommates. One was chill, kept to himself, barely made a mess. The other? Oh boy. The other was Kyle. And Kyle was a walking contradiction. Now, on paper, Kyle fancied himself the clean one, the self-appointed sheriff of cleanliness. But here's the thing. Kyle didn't actually clean. I'd come into the kitchen in the morning, groggy and just wanting coffee, and there'd be a tower of dishes blocking the counter. Kyle would breeze by, sipping his protein shake like he'd just done the Lord's work. And if you dared to say something, he'd look shocked. I emptied the dishwasher. I did my part. As if halfway finishing a task deserved a medal. Enter Jenna, Kyle's girlfriend. She moved in unofficially after a few months, basically started crashing every night. You'd think Mr. Clean over here would say something. I started keeping score in my head. Jenna left 3 pans caked in dried pasta sauce on the stove. Kyle didn't say a word. Every week, Kyle would call a house meeting. You know, the kind where he'd sit at the table with a notepad like some corporate manager trying to boost synergy. It wasn't just annoying, it was exhausting. And Jenna? She'd chime in with the occasional eye roll or sarcastic comment, like, maybe if you guys helped more, we wouldn't have to be the only ones who do stuff. Eventually, I stopped caring about trying to reason with either of them. It was the audacity. That's when the idea started to take shape. I didn't know exactly what I'd do yet, but I knew one thing for sure. If they wanted to act like the perfect couple who had it all together, I'd show them just how fast that illusion could fall apart. I had just come home from work, brain-fried, starving, and ready to microwave some leftovers. He opened the dishwasher, pulled out one plate, just one used it for his chicken nuggets, then set it on the couch next to Jenna while they watched some trashy dating show at full volume. I calmly asked, "Hey, Kyle, are you planning to empty the dishwasher tonight?" Without missing a beat, without even turning his smug face away from the TV, he says, "Can't you do it?" That was it. I felt my jaw tighten. I wanted to scream. Not because he asked me to do a basic chore, but because of the audacity. Then Jenna jumps in, still watching her show. "Yeah, we've been super busy today. I made dinner, remember?" Oh yes, dinner. A frozen lasagna she burnt and left in the oven tray, now cemented to the counter. I walked away, didn't say a word. Just went to my room, closed the door, and sat there in silence. And I thought about every dish I picked up that wasn't mine, every passive-aggressive sticky note on the fridge. That's when the idea clicked. It wasn't rage. It was calm. See, people like Kyle and Jenna. So I made a decision. I was going to break them, but not with yelling, not with drama. First, I'd find the weak points, their routines, their little secrets, the stuff they tried to hide even from each other. They thought they were untouchable, above consequences, above basic respect. And I was ready to light the fuse. I called it Operation Subtle Sabotage. The first step was food. Nothing dangerous, nothing that'd land me in jail, just off. Slightly sour milk. Next came the salt shaker. I swapped out half of it with a magnesium-based laxative. Harmless in small doses, but very effective. Then I moved on to smell. That was the point. I wanted doubt to creep in, not just between them, but within them. One morning, I walked into the kitchen and casually sniffed the milk before pouring some into my coffee. He took a sniff, frowned. "I don't smell anything." I shrugged. Maybe it's just me. Or maybe it's the leftovers from the fridge. Something smells off. That was it. Just a seed. But once you plant a seed in someone like Kyle, who needs to be in control, it grows fast. Within days, Kyle started sniffing everything. The milk. Meanwhile, Jenna started complaining that her shampoo wasn't working the same. Her hair felt different. I offered the occasional sympathetic nod. Maybe it's the water. Or maybe it's your diet. And then there were the lights. I unscrewed one bulb in the hallway just slightly, so it'd flicker every now and then. Soon, things escalated on their own. Jenna started saying she felt tired all the time. Kyle claimed he'd been getting brain fog and blamed screen time. One night, I heard them arguing quietly in the kitchen. "I told you not to leave the milk out." "I didn't. Maybe you did. You never put stuff back where it belongs. You're careless." Well, at least I'm not paranoid about every smell in the house. I was sitting in my room, lights off, headphones on, pretending to be deep in a podcast, smiling. The beauty of it all? I hadn't actually done anything terrible, just a few harmless tweaks to their routines. But it was working. And then came the moment I knew I had them hooked. Kyle asked me, completely serious, "Hey man." I kept a straight face. Boom. Paranoia officially activated. I didn't need to yell or confront them or cause a big scene. And I was just getting started. After a few weeks of subtle chaos, bad milk, flickering lights, hair that didn't feel right, I knew they were primed. But now it was time to turn the heat up. The goal? Crumble the trust between them. And what better way to do that than with their biggest shared vulnerability? Alcohol. Not enough to taste it immediately, just enough to create confusion. She poured herself a glass, took a sip, then frowned. See, Jenna was a recovering alcoholic. I swear there's something in it. It's got that ... bite. She'd been sober for about a year, and it was a huge deal in their relationship. Kyle, for all his talk about being supportive, still drank occasionally, but only when she wasn't around. At least, that's what he claimed. But I'd seen the beer cans he thought he'd hidden in the outside bin. Classic Kyle secret habits with a sprinkle of smug denial. So I started small. One night, I left a bottle of juice in the fridge, something Jenna liked. I added just a splash of rum to it. I accidentally left a six-pack on the kitchen counter one Friday night, pretending I forgot to put it in the fridge. When Jenna saw it, she looked furious. "Does this taste weird to you?" she asked Kyle. He took a sip, shrugged. "Tastes fine to me." Jenna stared at the glass, like it was mocking her. "You said you were done drinking while I was working through this." "Yeah, I mean, I've been good, but I miss just relaxing sometimes. Real smooth." Kyle rolled his eyes. "Maybe you're just being paranoid again." Again, there it was. Next move. A casual beer run. "Nah, it's mine. I grabbed a pack earlier. Didn't realize it'd be a problem." "My bad." "Yeah, you stress her out. She thinks you're controlling." "Seriously? You bought beer?" Said he just can't deal sometimes. I walked in just in time to hear Kyle fumble. "It's not mine. Probably one of the neighbors dropped it off." "Smooth, Kyle." I gave him a look. "I know how hard you've worked to stay sober." Whispered arguments behind closed doors. Passive-aggressive comments at dinner. Jenna started accusing Kyle of drinking behind her back. Kyle, of course, denied everything, which only made it worse. I cracked open a beer, handed him one, and said casually, "Look, man, maybe she's scared you're giving up on her. Just 'cause she can't drink doesn't mean you can't, right? That's not fair to you." Jenna gave Kyle the side eye. Kyle looked like he was about to melt. "I didn't drink it, I swear." Now the seed was planted, but I wasn't done. Later that week, I pulled Kyle aside while Jenna was out. Kyle hesitated and shrugged. We clinked bottles. Bonding moment achieved. But then, the real trick planting the wedge. She told me she sometimes feels like you're the reason she drinks, you know? Jenna started skipping work. Kyle started showing up late, clearly sleep-deprived. Their routines were breaking down. They'd forgotten how to mask their mess. His face changed instantly. I raised an eyebrow and asked innocently, "Hey, you good? You look kinda ... worn out." She said that? "Didn't sleep. Again. Something's messing with my stomach." Just something he mumbled the other day. Weird. Kyle said he's been having gut issues too. Maybe it's the food? Or stress? I gave a slow nod, lowering my voice like I was sharing a secret I shouldn't. Next day, I flipped the script with Jenna. If their relationship had been a glass tower, then the first few cracks were now spiderwebbing across every floor. At your age, I mean, it's not impossible. Could be stress-related. Or maybe it's something in the water. Kyle and Jenna weren't even pretending to get along anymore. A silent treatment turned into snide remarks. Snide remarks turned into yelling matches. And I just watched it all, unfold, quietly amused, casually involved. His ego didn't know how to process early balding without combusting. I let the silence do the work. "I don't want to stir the pot," I said, looking sheepish. "But Kyle mentioned he's been drinking when you're not around." "What? Why would I do that?" Her jaw clenched. "He said that? I probably shouldn't have told you. I'm just worried." Took turns in the bathroom, like they were in a bad divorce. Every glance between them was loaded. Boom. Divide and conquer. Over the next week, the apartment was a pressure cooker. And I just floated through the chaos, quiet and helpful. "Maybe he's stressed. I don't think he meant to hurt you. She probably just wants to feel supported." I played both sides like a pro. One night, I came home to find Jenna crying on the balcony, wine glass in hand. She wasn't even trying to hide it. Stress can really mess with your health, huh? I slipped, she said, not even looking at me. I knew I would eventually. He makes me feel like I'm the problem. I sat beside her. You're not. Maybe the relationship's just not healthy for either of you. A few hours later, I heard them screaming at each other. Accusations, old wounds ripped open. Kyle yelling about her being ungrateful. Jenna screaming about his lies. They were unraveling fast. And all I had done was tilt the mirror just enough so they could see what they didn't want to admit. The silent hostility was louder than any shouting match. They didn't trust each other anymore. Their identities, the clean freak and the recovering partner, had crumbled. That's exactly how the apartment felt the night it all came crashing down. He was unraveling in his own passive-aggressive, beard-stroking way. But neither of them saw the final blow coming. It was buried under some junk mail and takeout containers, just noticeable enough. Jenna found it while tossing a pizza box. Because, of course, I made sure it landed exactly when it would do the most damage. They were just two broken people now, blaming each other for every crack in the mirror. And that was exactly the plan. The best part? They still had no clue anyone was pulling strings. By now, they were both fraying at the edges. Not because of the beer itself, but because he had lied again. Because he had sworn over and over that he was supporting her sobriety. One morning, Jenna stumbled into the kitchen, sunglasses on, pale and looking rough. Kyle tried to defend himself, saying it wasn't about her, that he was entitled to unwind. And I knew exactly what would happen. Jenna shouted that he was selfish, manipulative, and probably never cared if she stayed sober as long as she didn't make him uncomfortable. I casually mentioned a local spot with cheap cocktails and loud music when we were chatting once. Just planting ideas, just being friendly. She sighed. I poured my coffee and nodded sympathetically. Her eyes narrowed slightly. He said that? I didn't say much, just gave the driver our address and handed Jenna some tissues. That's not mine. Must be one of the neighbors. Maybe they. He was pacing, hair a mess, biting his nails. Jenna was slumped at the bar, mascara streaked, trying to argue with the bartender about just one more. She stumbled off the stool, tried to leave on her bike, and ended up crashing face first into a trash bin before making it 20 feet. Just sat on the couch, staring at the floor. She pushed him away. The guilt, the shame, the fear, it was all there, written across his face. Screamed about you in front of half the bar. Fell off her bike. The house had never been more silent. People recorded it. People were laughing, filming. Isn't Jenna your roommate's girlfriend? She's here, wasted, screaming about some guy who betrayed her. I shrugged. You've been drinking this whole time, haven't you? Jenna emerged with puffy eyes and a bruised ego, while Kyle looked like a ghost. I found her in the kitchen, curled around a coffee mug, staring into space. He slept on the couch like a guest overstaying his welcome. And me? I floated between them like a well-meaning ghost, whispering little bits of doubt wrapped in fake concern. The house was eerily quiet after the meltdown. No more passive-aggressive comments, no more half-hearted cuddles on the couch, no more Jenna burning garlic bread while Kyle typed up chore charts no one followed. A few days later, Kyle emerged from the bathroom, holding a clump of hair. Is this normal? Like, do you think it's the shampoo? I didn't even flinch. Ha ... He stood there frozen. The tension in the apartment had turned physical air thick with resentment and confusion. They stopped cooking together. Ate separately. I'd hear snippets. Jenna accusing Kyle of betrayal. Kyle accusing Jenna of giving up. They were trying to fix something they didn't even know was broken beyond repair. But the real kicker came when Jenna started suspecting Kyle of sabotaging her. I feel like I'm walking on eggshells. She stormed into the kitchen one night, holding her conditioner bottle like it was evidence in a trial. I don't know. Maybe this relationship is taking a toll on you. On both of you. I mean, your health, your sleep, your sobriety. It's all kind of falling apart. Did you mess with this? She snapped. She didn't say goodbye to me, just left a note on the kitchen table. Can't keep doing this. Need to start over. And they trusted me. That was the funniest part. But he was gone. Kyle blinked. Because my hair's been falling out. You know that. This smells off like fish or something. What did you do? He looked genuinely baffled, which made it even better. Jenna, I haven't touched your stuff. Maybe it expired? You've been weird lately. Lying. Drinking. Making me feel crazy. Oh, so now it's my fault your hair's falling out? You gaslight me all the time. It spiraled from there. Yelling, crying, door slams. I walked out of my room halfway through the blow-up, rubbing my eyes like I'd just woken up. Everything okay? They both turned toward me raw, exhausted, angry. I played the part of the oblivious roommate. You guys don't look so good. Honestly, you both look like crap. Kyle scowled. Jenna bit her lip, holding back tears. And then I added the line that sealed it. It's like you're making each other sick. Neither of them said anything. But the seed had taken root. By the end of that week, Kyle moved into the living room. Jenna stopped talking to anyone. They were physically close, but emotionally oceans apart. I could have stopped there. But I knew the final act was coming. The trust was gone. And all I had to do ... was sit back and let gravity do the rest. There's a certain silence that hits right before everything explodes, like the air holds its breath, waiting for impact. Jenna had been spiraling for weeks, and Kyle, well, earlier that day, I left a little surprise in the recycling bin and empty beer Kyle had forgotten to hide. I was in the kitchen when I heard her. What is this? Kyle walked in, glanced at the can, and went pale. Stop lying. She screamed. Jenna, it's one beer. It's not like I got wasted. That's when she lost it. They fought loud. The kind of loud that shakes the walls and makes the neighbors peek through their peepholes. I stood there in the kitchen, frozen pizza in hand, pretending to be mortified. And then she was gone, storming out the door, slamming it behind her so hard one of our picture frames fell. I knew exactly where she'd go. See, I'd already seen her looking up bars in the area earlier that week. Sure enough, she went straight there. And when she drank hard. 2 hours later, I got the text from a mutual friend who worked at the bar. Hey. I grabbed my jacket. When I got there, the scene was as bad as I'd imagined. I stepped in, helped her up, got her in a cab. Back at the apartment, Kyle looked like he'd aged 5 years. Where is she? Is she okay? I gave him the most devastatingly calm answer possible. She got blackout drunk in public. His face crumbled. He didn't say anything for a long time. When Jenna finally stumbled in, Kyle tried to help her. Don't touch me. You broke me. She went straight to the bedroom, locked the door, and cried herself to sleep. Kyle stayed on the couch. I stayed quiet. And just like that, the image they tried so hard to protect, the perfect couple, the support system, the grown-up pair that had it all figured out, shattered completely. She was broken. He was humiliated. And I was the only one still standing. They barely spoke. She locked herself in the bedroom most nights. It started the morning after her public breakdown. I sat down across from her and offered my softest, most sympathetic voice. I'm sorry about last night. That must have been so hard. She nodded silently. Then I added, carefully, it's just ... She didn't say anything, but the seed was planted. Later that day, I found Kyle hunched over his laptop, dark circles under his eyes, fingers twitching. You okay, man? He sighed, rubbed his temples. I don't know what to do. She won't talk to me. I nodded slowly. Maybe she needs space. Or maybe you both do. Sometimes love isn't enough, you know. He looked up, defeated. What if I ruined everything? I gave him a gentle pat on the shoulder. Or maybe it was never built right in the first place. By now, their conversations were limited to whispers and closed doors. And I just kept nudging. To Jenna, you've been working so hard to stay sober. If being around him makes that harder, maybe that says something? To Kyle, you were doing fine before she moved in, right? You seemed happier. Each comment was just a breath, just a flicker of thought. But by now, they were desperate for guidance. It didn't take long after that. Jenna packed first. A single suitcase. Kyle read it in silence. Then he just ... Sat there. Hours passed. I don't think he moved. The next morning, he was gone too. His bedroom was stripped bare. The couch still smelled like his cologne, and his dumb inspirational posters were still pinned in the hallway. No dramatic farewell. No closure. Just ... gone. I stood in the empty kitchen, sipping coffee, the quiet humming around me like a victory anthem. A year of enduring their chaos. A year of calculated nudges and careful lies. And now? Peace. Sweet, glorious, dish-free peace. It took patience, planning, and a whole lot of pretending to care. But I got exactly what I wanted. Peace, quiet, and a clean kitchen. Watching them implode under the weight of their own dysfunction was better than any argument or passive-aggressive post-it note. Was it petty? Sure. But sometimes justice isn't about shouting. It's about whispering the right thing at the right time. And if you've ever had a nightmare roommate, you know exactly how satisfying that whisper can be. Like, subscribe, and tell me in the comments. What is the pettiest revenge you've ever pulled off?